thank you all for coming along to this session. Please do use the chat box if you do have any questions throughout. We'll try and answer as we go along, but we will have time at the end to answer any Q&A. And if something isn't answered or you think about something afterwards, then please do just let us know and we'll reach out to the presenter or individual to answer those questions for you. So first up, I'm going to ask our own digital development specialist at SOSI for Michael Gardner to join us first with his presentation, and then we'll move through the agenda as it's explained on the Eventbrite for you all.
Excellent, thanks Kirsty. I'm just going to get my screen set up, so 2 seconds. Okay, excellent. Can everybody see that slide?
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, so thanks very much. So welcome to today's Digital Productivity for Business workshop. Thanks everybody for coming. My name is Michael Gardner. As Kirsty said, I am the Digital Development Specialist for South of Scotland Enterprise. I'm going to give a very short kind of introduction into digital productivity and then hand over to our speakers. So let's start right from the beginning. I mean, what even is productivity? So it's defined as the ratio between the output volume and the volume of inputs. Basically, it just means how much is put into a business
It just makes everything pop.
In order to produce whatever it is that the business sells. So the inputs into your business, they might be your time, they might be the time of your additional staff, it might be your money, it might be raw materials, it might be expertise, and very often it's a combination of quite a few of these things. And your outputs do depend on the business and what it is that your business does. But again, it's the stuff that your business sells. So you might sell clothing, you might sell fresh produce, a high-tech piece of software, your time as a skilled labourer, or maybe your subject matter knowledge and accreditations. It's essentially your product. And again, productivity is about looking at how efficiently you can manage your inputs in order to produce those outputs. There's actually a few different ways to achieve productivity gains. For some people, it might be getting more stuff, so more output from the same amount of input. So getting more shirts from your production line without necessarily needing to invest in additional time, money, or resources. For others, the priority might be to actually decrease their input while keeping their outputs the same. So keeping things ticking along, but then freeing up, time and money, for instance. Or of course, there's the kind of the holy grail of productivity, which is to get more output from less input. So that's productivity broadly. And when we add the word digital into the mix, it simply refers to the process of using digital solutions. Now that's both software and hardware to help increase your productivity in any of those ways that we just described. And some examples of digital productivity might include managing your time and task list more effectively to ensure that you're getting the most value out of your time. We all know that especially for small businesses, time is often your most precious resource. It might be connecting two or more of your existing systems together. So for instance, having your finance system speaking to your CRM system to avoid double handling. It might be identifying those kind of repetitive and time-consuming tasks that could be automated. So a simple example might be sending out a follow-up email to a customer after a sale is made in order to request a review or feedback. It might be about applying best practice to your file, data, and knowledge management to make sure that you get access to the information that you need kind of when you need it. Or it might also be efficient ways to stay on top of your own professional development. Because if you remember, your expertise is very much one of the inputs into your business. And for a lot of people, it's actually one of your key kind of differentiators for your business. Now, the good news for everyone on the call is that now is a really, really good time to be looking at increasing your digital productivity because we are surrounded by a huge amount of enabling technologies that can support all of those opportunities that we just looked at. So things like data analytics and measurements. It's easier than ever to capture and analyze data and then measure with it and then go on to visualize and communicate with it. And the reason that I've put this first is because some of the others that I'll touch on are kind of applicable to certain industries, but I believe that this one is common through all of them. It's impossible to increase your productivity without first understanding your data, both your baseline data and then your subsequent performance data once you implement some of these kind of enabling technologies. The second is this huge wave of artificial intelligence that we're seeing at the moment, driven in part from the mainstream popularity of large language models like things like ChatGPT, but also the huge potential for of the other fields of artificial intelligence that are also going through similar explosions, things like machine learning, computer vision, expert systems, and more. And that leads us on to robotics, which is closely linked to artificial intelligence and the improvements that we're seeing, not only in the more kind of flashy humanoid type robots coming out of places like Boston Dynamics and Tesla, but in particular the improvements in manufacturing robotics, like articulated and Delta type robots, where they can perform more and more complex autonomous tasks, or things like collaborative robots, cobots, where the robots interact and work side by side with people in kind of these shared environments. Now, wireless technologies are also improving. Large parts of the country are covered by LoRaWAN to power Internet of Things devices, but businesses also have the ability to very, very cheaply roll out their own IoT networks, which gives people access to low data transfer over wide geographic areas. Or on the complete opposite end of the spectrum is things like 5G, both kind of commercial carrier 5G, but then also localized private 5G networks that allow for much, much higher bandwidth transfers over smaller areas. So these technologies are kind of enabling and allowing people to gain an understanding of their world that they've never had before. If you imagine you could go back in time 100 years and ask a farmer how much more productive they think they'd be if they knew the location and the health of every cow in their field, as an example. There's manufacturing technologies. Now, this is not to be confused with robots. I've kind of used the term manufacturing technologies to refer to things like 3D scanners, 3D printers, and also software solutions like photogrammetry and radiance fields. All of these kind of new and amazing technologies that are allowing people to capture, design, and then build for the real world in a way that used to be kind of reserved for very specialist companies or the very big design and construction type companies. And lastly, I'm going to talk about what I've kind of called enabling software here, and that can range from, off-the-shelf commercial software that exposes their APIs, allowing other software to speak to it, all the way through to the bespoke connectors like Zapier that specialize in joining two or more pieces of software together and then allowing for complex rules and relationships and automations to flow between them. Quite often, this type of enabling software is actually the glue that holds more complex productivity workflows together. And the good news is that most software is getting more open, and these technologies are getting more powerful with time. So that's it from me. So for today's workshop, we've got 5 really fantastic speakers representing SMAS, the Scottish Manufacturing Advisory Service, AIMS, which is the Advanced Innovative Manufacturing in the South of Scotland project, CJM Consultancy, and our very own South of Scotland Enterprise, all of whom are going to be discussing the use cases and the supporting technologies that I've just touched on, plus a whole bunch more. As Kirsty mentioned, it's going to be followed by an open Q&A session, so you can put your questions in the chat now or save them up for the end. And now I am going to pass it across to our first speaker, John Grierson from the Scottish Manufacturing Advisory Service. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michael. Right, here we go. Let's see if technology will work for us. So hopefully everyone can see this, yes?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm getting, I can get some thumbs up here. So yes, thank you very much, Michael. And Kirsty, remind me never to send you a mugshot ever again. But good morning, everyone, and thank you for allowing me to speak at this great event. My name's John Grierson. I work for the Scottish Manufacturing Advisory Service, or SMAS, as I am now going to refer to us. So I've got around 20 minutes. Going to talk to you first and foremost, and apologies in advance, on who SMAS are and what we do, and then we're going to touch on our sort of bread and butter tool, our go-to tool, if you like, that we use all the time, regardless of who we are interacting with, and that is process mapping, which rather ironically is probably as undigital a tool as you can get, but boy, is it really effective. But before we go on to that, so I don't know if you can see that on your screen. I'll move out of the way because it's on the road of mine. First of all, who are SMAS? So, yeah, Scottish Manufacturing Advisory Service. We are part of Scottish Enterprise. So just to briefly explain, there's 3 economic development agencies throughout Scotland. You have the High, or Highlands and Islands Enterprise up north. You have SOSE, obviously, the South of Scotland Enterprise, covering Dumfries and Galloway and the Scottish borders, and Scottish Enterprise cover in between, and they're all tasked with doing the same thing, helping businesses in Scotland get bigger and better. There's a couple of problems with the name SMAS. First of all, it's got manufacturing in the title, and that puts a lot of businesses off because they think that's all we work with. Maybe it was 20 odd years ago when we first came into existence. We don't now. We should have simply been called productivity. That is what SMAS is all about. It is just working with businesses to help their processes, help get their processes more productive. And that can be any type of business. As long as the business has a process, and I will always say we have yet to come across a business that doesn't have a process, SMAS can work with you to try and make them processes more effective. There we go. I thought I wasn't going to move on from it there. So we do this through lots of different ways. 4 key areas of business support, as we like to talk about. Predominantly, we work within operational excellence and leadership and culture. So it could be we have a project with a business, which is primarily what we do. I'll touch on the next slide on all the different types of projects we work with. One thing to say about SMAS, I like to get in there up front, is there is an investment required if you have a project with SMAS. We would love to be a completely free of charge offering. There is lots of great reasons why, unfortunately, we are simply not allowed to be that. However, before we have any project, we are genuinely here to help businesses. So we are always here for a completely free of charge informal talk. We can give out advice. We do a operational review where we will come on site to any business for a day at no cost to the business whatsoever. We will talk about we'll talk through different areas of the business, like operational performance, how you measure it, your planning, how effective your planning processes are, what's your supply chain like, what's your assets like, your maintenance, your asset strategy, all that good stuff and a whole lot more. And on the back of it, we will propose to you how we would support you. And we always say the business can do 3 things with that. They can completely ignore it, which is never usually the case. There's nothing surprising comes out of it because there's been discussions that's happened throughout the day. You can take SMAS up and do a project with us, which is great. We will help you implement what we are suggesting. Or the third thing you can do, which is a big win for us, if you take our proposal and you go and implement it yourself, that's excellent. If you can do that, we are more than happy to advise from the sidelines. Around leadership and culture, we have a business improvement academy. There are ones currently running up in, or going to be running shortly, I should say, up in Central Belt, up in Glasgow. There's another one for Ayrshire. There's dates in the diary for them. If you're interested, give me a shout. I can give you more information. We will be running another one in the south of Scotland. Sorry, you will need to forgive me. I'm part of the West team, so I'm very heavily integrated in Dumfries and Galloway. For those from the borders, there's ones running in Edinburgh as well. There will likely be one running closer to the borders as well. So if you want more information, reach out and let us know. We will run another one in Dumfries. It will either be later this year or early next year. More to follow on that one. But it's a great way of giving your people the skills to go and deliver sustainable change. That's where it came from. As we go in, we work with businesses, we put great things in place. Hopefully we make it sustainable, but unfortunately sometimes we go back and things have fell away. So what we try and do within our Business Improvement Academy is give people the skills to make sustainable change. It's a 5-day course. It's 1 day a week. We bring people from different businesses together so they learn from each other, which is superb. And then we help coach a project on the back of that, so the business gets a return on investment as well. And it is a very popular course. We also have our Lean Six Sigma, so apologies if I'm throwing all these terms at you. So predominantly what we do is lean. That's the majority of our projects is around lean, which is just all about eliminating process wastes, which will make your processes more productive. The Six Sigma part of it is, Michael talked earlier about capturing data. Six Sigma is very data orientated. It takes all the good stuff from lean, and the Six Sigma part of it is about reducing variation, and it does that by using data. So if you've got a lot of data in the business but you don't think you use it particularly well, Lean Six Sigma would be a great route to go. We do a Lean Six Sigma Yellow Belt course. There's one actually starting very shortly on the 6th of May. I appreciate it's very short notice. Apologies if you've not heard of it yet. If you want to know more about it, please reach out. We also work around Industry 4.0 as well. And again, we have another service where we can do a completely free review with a business and look at the technologies. Michael gave some great examples of the types of technologies that are out there. We will look at where could you possibly use these within the business, and then on the back of that there'll be lots of areas you could use them, but let's prioritize them and see, create a roadmap and see how do we want to prioritize these and how do we want to go after them. And we also work around our supply chain as well. So that could be anything from, if you want to reshore product, we will help you put you in touch with the businesses that can help make that happen. Or if you want to look at supply chain performance, we can help you work with your supply chain and create a better working relationship. Some of the typical projects we work on are listed there. I'm not going to go through them all in detail. Some of the more typical ones, flow and layout. If we're buying a new bit of equipment, we're putting it in, but we're not quite sure the best way to lay everything out for the most optimal results, then we can certainly advise on that. 5S, or workplace organization, is another one we'll do lots of work on, but you can see there's lots and lots of stuff up there, and it doesn't just fall under productivity. A lot of them fall under the more people and culture side of things. SMAS will preach till we are blue in the face that people and culture is critical to the success of a business. It's the people that will be driving continuous improvement. One other thing we do, and the reason I bring this up is something that we want to bring into both Dumfries and Galloway and the borders more, is we have some fantastic businesses down in this part of the world, and we probably don't share well enough. So I know a lot of them businesses up there are not from this region, but as an example of some of the ones we've been to recently, Covetrus are. As part of our Business Improvement Academy, we do include a best practice visit where we take the delegates into a business, and we always find it much more effective. We can tell them everything that works till we are blue in the face again, but there's nothing better than going in and seeing it in reality, how it does actually work. And Covetrus are a brilliant example of a business who, they're a warehouse, they have a nice fancy conveyor system. Some businesses go in, see that and think, well, I'll never be able to get to that standard. But look beyond that and listen to what Covetrus are actually telling you. They're making big leaps and strides forwards, and it's not solely by investment. Investment's a key part, and yes, they're doing it, but they wouldn't be getting to where they are without engaging their people and having the people driving the continuous improvement activities, and the people coming forward with, this is where the investment needs to be made. Another thing we do is we have lots of good network out there. We can make lots of referrals. AIMS are on this call, SOCI are on this call. There's a lot of support out there. There's sometimes too much support to know where to go. So we can be a good link in, as can SOCI and AIMS, to refer to each other. So that's maybe enough about SMAS. And so what I'm going to talk to you today about is one of the tools we use. So this is the SMAS toolbox. It's also the Lean toolbox, stolen shamelessly. We're going to start with process mapping. It's our go-to tool that we use all the time. To explain why they're called Lean tools and techniques, so if you've not heard of Lean, I apologize. It's Toyota are accredited with coming up with Lean many, many decades ago, and ever since they used Lean tools and techniques to make their processes more efficient, the rest of the world has been trying to copy and emulate what they done and the success they had. And process mapping is our go-to tool. So what is a process? So following on nicely from what Michael talked about, it can be many things. So within manufacturing, you have materials flowing through a process, but in lots of other businesses, it can be information flowing through the process. In fact, within manufacturing, it tends to be material and information flowing through a process. And a lot of the time, it's actually the information flow that is the biggest problem rather than the material flow. And like the NHS, it can be people flowing through a process. So a process can be lots of different things, but something will be flowing through it. Into that process, we'll be going lots of different things. Materials, people, skills, plant and equipment. There will be a series of activities happening, some where we're adding value, some where we're not really adding value, and then we'll get our product out in the back of it. But there'll be lots of process waste happen within that as well. And that's what process mapping is all about. It's like, can we identify these wastes so that we can look to eliminate and reduce them where possible? So there's lots and lots of benefits of process mapping. One is I would go further than saying relatively easy, and I say it's very easy to get started. It's a great way of visualizing a process. Processes within businesses can be very complicated, but if you map that process out, it's amazing how more visual it can become and how people can really begin to understand what happens within it. There's no special skills required to participate. A lot of businesses will get SMAS in to help facilitate this process mapping session and give it direction, but it is nothing to stop a business just doing it all on their own as well. One thing is it helps understand actual business processes. I'll touch on that more in the next slide. But like all these tools and techniques, it is just another tool for driving continuous improvement. It's not just about understanding what your current process is. The whole concept is, let's understand the current process, understand the current issues, and therefore how do we put things in place to try and solve some of these issues. This is obviously an event all about digital productivity. We're going to very shortly talk about a tool where you'll see there's not very much digitization goes in when going through the actual process, but it can be a very, very effective tool for pointing you in the right direction of where you want to digitize. One thing we'll say about a process is sometimes people will think their processes aren't great, and the solution to this is to make it more digital, and it 100% is the correct thing to do. But before you do that, sometimes the necessary thing is we need to optimize the process and then digitize it, because we can't just dump a digital solution onto an inefficient process and expect to get anything other than an inefficient process that's been digitized on the back end of it as well. We always talk within SMAS about we've got 3 versions of a process. There's what you think it is, and that could be different from person to person. There's what it actually is, which is often very different to what everyone thinks, and what it should be. So one of the key things about process mapping is we want what it actually is, not what we all think it is, but what it actually is. Therefore, we need to have the right people involved to do that. So if we're looking at a production process that goes across 4 different processes, it can be very easy to say, do you know what, the production manager's got the knowledge. We'll just get them to tell us what happens through each stage. That we'll be getting what we think, what the production manager thinks happens. What we want to know is who does the process, therefore get them into the room and they tell us step by step what they do to actually perform their part of the process. Same if we've got a part of the process as a planning stage. We don't want the planning manager in saying this is what they think happens. They'll have a good idea, but is it exactly what actually happens? We want who creates the plan, because they will tell us exactly what happens. And now you see why I'm saying that it is not the most digital solution you'll come across. That is an example of a SMAS process map that was created with a business. I will go through in the next couple of slides how we created that, but you can see it's brown paper and Post-its on a wall. There are more digital solutions now, but we find that brown paper and Post-its are the most effective. So how do we create that? It is as simple as we stick a blank sheet up on a wall. So we've got brown paper and blue tack here. We are moving forward in the world ever so slightly. You can get Magic Whiteboard now. You can see the sheets, they just work by static. So if you are like me and you hate the blue tack side of it, you can work with something like Magic Whiteboard, put it up on the wall, and it gives you the same effect. Then you just start adding the information to it. So team name, dates, map name. Then the first part of it, which is often overlooked, is agree as a team. And remember, we've got everyone required who touches the process involved to agree the start and end point. It's often overlooked, and as a result, there's confusion. It might be that you're looking at a part of the process. So there could be a design stage happens at the start of the process, but actually we will come back to that another day. We are going to take this one from confirmed order received, and that could be our start point. And our end point could be, the end point sometimes might be we receive the money in the bank, or the end point might be the goods are sitting in the warehouse ready to be shipped, or our service is ready to go live, that type of thing. As long as the team understands what the start and the end point is, agree on it and understand why that is the case. And then you just go through and you detail out every single step that has to happen between the start and the end point. One of the more difficult parts of it potentially is the level of detail. You don't need to go to the nth degree, but it's a common sense approach. You need to understand what you're trying to achieve. The whole team should know what they're trying to achieve. So you just go to the level of detail required. And you can always fine tune it. And if there's an issue where you've not went to enough detail, you can blow that part of the process map up and then do that in more detail. You can capture additional data. If you've got process times, great. It's not always available. Number of people. Systems is a good one. The number of, where does the information come from and where is it going to get used? So, oh, that's just a Word document, a Word template we've got saved somewhere, or that comes from an Excel spreadsheet, it's manual and it's saved on John's own personal PC. This here goes into our ERP system. Like, where are all the different systems that we touch? And then we capture the issues. So what are the issues that stop us being as efficient as we want to be? And one thing to say here, businesses start to get paranoid when whatever color of Post-it they're using for issues, purple in this case in the screen, there is lots of them. That's not an issue. Nobody is more critical than a business than the people that work in it, because they know the issues that are causing them to be less efficient. And so just quickly put that one back up on the screen to show that maybe at first glance, I mean, I don't think it is complicated, but maybe when you first look at that, you think it's a bit hard to see what's going on. But actually, it's very simple when you see the process you go through, and it is as simple as that. And it is unbelievable how valuable the discussions that happen through this process are, and how it will help you drive forward. This is obviously just the creation of the map. We now have to then prioritize all these issues, create projects to fix them. We need an action tracker to follow that through. That all needs to happen to drive the continuous improvement. There's other types of process map as well. So this is I thought I better show something that looked a bit more digital. So this has been created in Miro. This is a very, very specific process within a business. It's like a procurement process. And it's called a swim lane, and you can just see it's very good. If you look down the left hand side, you've got design, procurement, vendor, warehouse, etc. It just shows you who touches each part of the process and how many different departments are involved. It can be a really good one if there's not clear roles and responsibilities within a business. Once you got your map and you're going through creating all the issues, you want to be asking lots of questions. I'm not going to go through all these questions, but you can see there, are all the steps necessary? Is there steps missing? Where does the information come from, get used? Are the same people, are different people doing the same task? Are we duplicating tasks? I don't have time to go into the 8 lean process wastes, but Toyota defined 8 lean wastes. So where can we see lots of wastes within the process? There's another example of it was Food Standards Scotland. I thought this was a really recent standard example, sorry, and then I've seen the date of 2020 and I was like, God, time passes quick, doesn't it? But this was on the back of Brexit. Seafood, or Food Standards Scotland, were working with Seafood to create export health certificates for food that was then having to go into Europe. Previously, before Brexit, it just went into Europe, no questions asked. There now needed to be an export health certificate accompanying it, and that process slowed their overall process down significantly. They used to offer a day 1 for day 2 service, where seafood would be taken out of water on day 1 and would be in European markets by day 2. And they moved from more like a day 1 to a day 4 service. And if you know seafood, as soon as it comes out of the water, it starts to lose value. So it was not great for the seafood suppliers within Scotland. So SMAS got asked to come and look at this. We created that process map you can see on the wall there. We discovered all the issues. We put plans in place to work with the logistic companies who were doing this, and Seafood Scotland suppliers and the Food Standards Scotland, and we helped resolve it. But the whole point around this is it was simply process mapping. We just used a process mapping to create to understand where all the pain points were and put stuff in place to fix that. And some of these were digital solutions as well. A lot of it was a very manual process. So Food Standards Scotland had to invest to digitise parts of the process so that we could make it more efficient and fit for purpose. And lastly, just to kind of cover off what are the benefits of process mapping. So it simply supports continuous improvement, establishes really prioritised by those who do the work. So it's not people, it's not managers saying this is what we think will work and help. It is people are doing the tasks as well, getting involved and getting their points across as well. And it can have dramatic short and medium term results for the positive, obviously. And this is the last slide I'll speak to. We have always done it that way. The 7 most expensive words in business. We will always go into a business and say that nothing will change unless you are proactively trying to improve your processes. That can be digital improvements, or sometimes it doesn't even require the digital step, but it's the way forward. If you're not trying to proactively improve, it's not going to get better. So process mapping is a great tool to start you off on that journey. So thank you very much for that. If there's any questions, then please feel free to fire them into the chat, or indeed ask them at the end during our Q&A session. And apologies, I'm not sure who I'm handing over to, but I will stop sharing.
Thank you very much for that, John.
Right,
it was
you,
great, very insightful. I must say I've actually attended the face-to-face sessions with John and his team, and they're really worthwhile, so I highly recommend that. Next up, we're going nicely on to our AIMS team, and we've got both Joanne and Amal here today, and I think Joanne's going first, if that's all right. I'll let you share your screen and unmute yourself, Joanne. Thank you.
Hi there. Just give me a minute and I'll get my screens sorted. Thank you.
For those who aren't aware, the Ames team are based in the Dumfries and Galloway College at the moment, and it's we've got a few events coming up, which I'm sure Joanne will share with you all as well. That's you. You can see your screen.
Okay, can everyone see okay?
Yep.
Excellent. Hi everyone, my name is Joanne and I'm the Business and Facilities Coordinator for the AIMS project. And for those who don't know, AIMS stands for Advancing Innovative Manufacturing in South of Scotland. So we are run by Dumfries and Galloway Council and our workshop and office is based at Dumfries and Galloway College. So we were one of 12 projects set up by the Advancing Manufacturing Challenge Fund in 2020, and we were funded by the Economic Development Fund. That fund ended in June last year, and now we're funded by the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. So we have some advancing technologies in our workshop. We have CNC milling and turning, we have 3D printing, 3D scanning, collaborative cobots, virtual reality headsets, robotic welding, autonomous robots and so on. And we offer these out to local businesses in Dumfries and Galloway to access free of charge to work on prototyping new processes and products. And we also have a skills element now, so we're developing a suite of vocational courses that are open to local businesses as well. Okay. So I've been asked to talk to you today about how our ERP systems can streamline your business. So I am by no means an expert on ERP. However, today I'm going to talk to you about how AIMS project are facilitating businesses in Dumfries and Galloway to access ERP. So as you can see here from this slide, ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. AIMS project goal was to support local businesses in Dumfries and Galloway to access an ERP system to support them to streamline their business and make them more efficient. We wanted businesses to be given a chance to see how this could work for them without any R&D costs. So what does an ERP system actually do? Well, it's a process used by companies to manage and integrate the important parts of their business, often via software to connect planning, purchase, inventory, sales, marketing, finance and human resources, and a whole lot more. So when AIMS project were looking at the procurement of an ERP system, we looked at 5 ERP systems out in the marketplace. And we evaluated these systems on various criteria, but we decided to go with Emacs systems for 2 main reasons. One, it was cloud-based, which means you can access this anywhere at any time on any device. And 2, this system is designed for manufacturing businesses, which is our target market. Although the caveat on that is, although we work with manufacturing businesses, this could be manufacturing across all sectors, whether that's food and drink, whether that's agriculture, oil and gas, and so on. So why would a business move to an ERP system? Well, we're told time and time again that people have all their data on multiple Excel spreadsheets, which is a lot of information that could get lost and tampered with, etc. Or they might store information in multiple places, for example, Teams, Outlook, internal finance, or booking systems, or CRMs, etc. The information might not be secure, so they might be prone to system crashes, cyber attacks, and they might be heavily reliant on manual input. So a lot of labour hours inputting the data into the spreadsheet. And again, they might not have any staff contingency. So there might be only 1 or 2 people that look after this spreadsheet, which makes the business vulnerable. So what are the benefits of implementing an ERP system? Well, having all the business data in one place is really powerful. Given access to meaningful data at a glance with customizable dashboards, which leads to improvements in efficiency, which gives easier control of functions such as orders, purchasing and invoices. And businesses can choose which departments they wish to implement the system into. So they could start off just slowly implementing it into 1 or 2 departments and then roll it out to the rest of the business over time. So how can AIMS actually help? Okay, so AIMS project supports businesses and introduces them to the possibilities of an ERP system. There's absolutely no pressure to buy. AIMS project are not an extended sales team. And what AIMS do is they run free taster sessions with Emacs systems about every quarter. And after attending the taster session, the business will have access to a free, fully funded log-on to the demonstration system for about 3 months. And this gives businesses an opportunity to have a play about with the system, test all of its functions and see if it's right for them. At the end of the day, they don't have to choose Emacs systems. They could go with another ERP provider, or they might decide at this point in time that an ERP system isn't right for them. So AIMS project has supported, since about May 23, the following sectors with ERP. So modular building construction, forestry machinery, engineering, boiler manufacturing and agricultural construction. So as you can see here are a variety of sectors across manufacturing. So what kind of feedback have AIMS projects received so far with the taster sessions? So Michael Dodds, who is a purchasing and planning manager for European Forestry Machinery, said that from the tasting session and the sessions that we've had with Emacs themselves, we have found the session really simple, and this will help us in immense ways. From stock control to production planning, we can see that Emacs has been a great fit for us. And the session run by Emacs, which was organised by AIMS, was super useful and put us in contact with them to get more information and to get our hands on the demo. Laura Maz from Iron and Pine said that the initial introduction into ERP is vital as businesses can get wrapped up in the now. She thinks that the younger the business is, the easier the implementation will be, as it's more difficult to backtrack if you have multiple systems in place. Laura said that it was easy to transfer to the ERP system and businesses should not be put off by this. The only factor is a cost implication and, can a business afford it? Laura thinks that the ERP system is simply a lean way of working. Laura said that there's a lot of legwork to be done and that bit is a bit time consuming, but she says the initial session was interesting and in future they should stick to a basic overview and not go too much in depth. And she said the first session jumped about a little bit, but the second session should be a personalised approach for the business. And she said that they're going ahead with Emacs, but the deadline might be variable. So for all the businesses that we've had on these sessions so far, all of them are going ahead with an ERP system, which is really positive. So please see the contact details for our current team. If you're interested in ERP and you'd like me to set up a taster session with Emacs systems, you can contact me by emailing me or you can connect with me on LinkedIn or Facebook. If you'd like to find out a little bit more about what AIMS actually does, we also have a wealth of information on our website, www.aimsproject.co.uk. And there's a contact us form on there, which will come also straight through to us. So AIMS currently work with many partnerships and stakeholders, including local authority, local education, and also local forums. Thank you very much for listening. Does anyone have any questions or do you want to pop them in the chat for later?
That's great. Thank you very much for that, Joanne. Again, it's even just worth having a look around your workshop at AIMS. I think it's quite inspiring in itself, to be honest. And on that, I know that there's been some improvements and changes, so nicely moves us on to Amal, if that's possible. Are you okay to share your screen and unmic?
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks, Kirsty. So I'm just going to share the slides. Hope that's visible for everyone. And so, by the way, thanks, Joe, for introducing AIMS so much in such a nice manner. So I think I can skip that particular part. So you guys already know what AIMS stands for. So that's just like a little bit of definition from my side, the subtext. That what we do is basically embracing technological advancement for the business growth. Also want to thank Michael and John. Michael gave a really nice overview of what we are all going to say. But so for my overview, we are going to touch base on 5 main technologies: robotics, computer vision, machine learning, point cloud data, and AR and VR. So without further ado, we'll go to the next slide, and that's the robotic automation. So how do you see your process right now is if you have a lot of manual labor right now, which is filled with repetitive tasks, I think robotics automation is the key answer for you. And they can be either cobots or industrial robots, depending on the payload of the things that you're using, and also depending on what kind of safety measures you want to take. So if you want to have an environment where a lot of people are working alongside robots without much safety dangers, then yes, a cobot is your answer. But if you want to do heavy payload tasks in which you can deploy a screen around the robot and you can lift multiple big things from a robot to a particular device or a pallet, then yes, an industrial robot is your answer. And multiple companies are available for these kind of things, and we give advice on these particular companies like ABB, Fanuc, as well as we have KUKA. Then Universal Robots are famous for their cobots, and we have multiple Universal Robots in our workshop. So boosting your production capacity and boosting your consistency in the overall project is what we do through the robotic automation. Going on to the next one, we will go through the computer vision. So if I touch base on computer vision is probably seen as a further implementation of how robotics automation can be improved. But computer vision is not just that. Anything that we have seen in the movies, from face detection to object detection, all those things come from the computer vision algorithms. And the real-time process monitoring is also a huge part of deploying computer vision into your process. So one of the main things right now that is being sold all over the world is data, and collecting that data into your process through computer vision and then utilizing it later on in the process. That is what computer vision is all about. These things can be enabled through sensors like a 3D depth camera or just an RGB camera. It really depends on your use case, and you can touch base with me on these algorithms and these sensors later on further, and I can elaborate on that. Machine learning is something, again, another process that is advancement on computer vision and dependent. So all these technologies, I will give a disclaimer, are dependent on each other. And machine learning is something that the data that I was mentioning in computer vision can utilize it and make your process even better. So you can do a visualization of your complete chart of the year or a projection of what's going to happen in the next year just through machine learning algorithms. There's so many regression, so many classification models, so many different kinds of models available in machine learning that you can utilize to actually make your process much better and much more efficient. Point cloud data. So this is something that we do really well, and we can basically have a part. So some parts in some technologies and some machines are something that are quite proprietary, and they can become deprecated from the company, and they're not producing that anymore. But that part, you need that part particularly for your production. So how do you get that? So reverse engineering is the process in which you actually scan that particular part and then 3D print that part in any kind of different kind of materials that you can imagine, whether it be a metal printing or it be a PLA or a plastic printing in a normal way. So designing that particular point cloud is what the point cloud data is all about. And that point cloud data can not only be utilized to just reverse engineer, but can also be utilized to actually showcase your clients a particular model of something that you want to show them before the process has been done, or even showcasing those particular models on your website to just increase your business perspective and your business growth. The overall virtual prototyping has been done for many years, but this is basically the time where you can actually use it to its full potential because of the new technologies that are coming up. And that brings me to my last particular technology, that is augmented reality and virtual reality. This is particular a technology that has had gained quite a lot of attention since the 90s, but the technology at that time wasn't advanced enough for people to actually have wearables on their heads and use it for the purposes that they wanted to use. At that time, there was just a small video playing on their headset or just a small piece of text that they just were able to see in 3D. And that was the gist of it. But right now, you can use augmented reality to actually do the training for your colleagues. You can do virtual reality experiences to do a complete safety training for your workshop or your factory. And that can be done just in a matter of few days. So those kind of technologies and deploying those POCs is what AIMS is all about. And all those technologies can be combined together to actually make a really nice process, which is into the advanced world. So we are AIMS, we will be the enabler of innovation in your particular process. We do give expert guidance on the whole process, but our main prospect is to create a POC for your particular thing that we have given advice on, and then connect you to different businesses where you can go further. We are also right now, I'm happy to announce that we are also right now going for funding opportunities, and there will be new funding opportunity through AIMS for different businesses. And we cover all kinds of businesses from sole traders all the way to big businesses. And of course, the last one is network and collaboration. So SMAS and AIMS and many different businesses all the way to Edinburgh, like MDMC, are one of our partners and are in our connections, which enable these particular innovation. So the future is now, and let's get started. So the consultation is free for all of the consultation and the services are free for AIMS. The only condition is that a contribution to your particular process should be an innovative venture and should be something that is not being done quite previously in your particular firm. You can find most of our resources on our website, which is, as Joe mentioned, www.aimsproject.co.uk. And that brings me to the end of my slide. Any questions, please put them in the chat. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Amal. It's always good to see how the AIMS team and the services are developing. Certainly since I've last been in. I'll have to come back in again soon, I think. That leads us nicely on to Colin McNally now from CGM Consultancy. So we're kind of slightly changed. We're looking at how we can use the digital world within our accountancy. Oh, he's even got this presentation up already. How efficient. There we go. So I'll pass it over to you, Colin.
Thank you very much, folks. Just 2 seconds. You can hear me okay, Kirsty? Just a check.
Yep. Can see and hear. All good.
Thank you very much. Yeah, obviously I am going to talk more about the back end. We've spent a lot of time, which is great, talking about the more front end, the manufacturing aspects, but really now I'm looking at more of the back end and how you improve productivity and efficiency on that. A little bit about us to start with. My background, I spent 12 years in Diageo, the drinks company, really financially managing and within project management of global IT programs. And that included quite a large e-transformation project. So I've been kind of in this world for a little while about basically digitizing the supply chain, let's call it. And CGIM, that forms part of our work. We do a lot of process reviews, we'll do a lot of accounting systems requirements in terms of understanding how we can upgrade them and how we can improve, and that's what I'll show you today. Business planning, financial strategy, governance, training, support, etc. with funding. We are based out of Prestwick, however, since the inception of the business 15 years ago, I have been working down in the south of Scotland since that time. We do work with quite a wide range of businesses, and a lot of them basically you may recognise from the south of Scotland. Obviously, we do work with national organisations, the likes of Scottish Government down in historic England, but you know, the likes of Carrington Trust, we've done a lot of work with. I was actually in a call with them this morning, whisky broker out at Cretan, Usual Place in the middle of Dumfries. So you know, we're very much a wide-ranging opportunity in terms of how we work across Scotland and support basically businesses in south of Scotland area. I'm going to start with this digital presentation using probably one of the oldest images I ever use. And really it's the garbage in, garbage out scenario. I reckon I've been using this exact same image now for at least 25 years. You'll probably tell that by the technology that's in the middle of it. From an accountancy point of view, digital does not solve business issues. It only supports and helps them. It is the old adage, if you put garbage into an accounting system, you will get garbage out. But what it can do, it provides outputs that can be extremely accurate, replacing, and I would say in many, many cases, far superseding human efforts. However, don't ever think at the moment they will ever replicate human intelligence. So although we spend a lot of our time digitising and supporting clients to digitise their accountancy aspects, in the end, we still need people. We still need that individual who's going to understand the strategic direction, understand really and interpret some of the numbers and put them into a commercial real concept. I think one of the biggest mistakes any small growing business can make is that they actually lose control or do not keep a tight control on their financial reporting. I think that results in very poor decision making, lack of evidence, basically which enables you to get funding or grants or investment. So therefore, I actually don't think that what we are talking about anymore is a potentially can do or should do. A bit like many of the conversations that's been taking place over the last hour or so, I think we're near enough now as any form of business really in a must do. Now, what's pushed that? Probably one of the biggest aspects, apart from the obvious, which is the productivity and efficiency, is really making tax digital. HMRC has pushed this down the track, believe it or not, now for the last 5 years, where we've moved from basically making tax digital, where literally they're looking for digitized versions of what we used to consider, the basic HMRC submission requirements. So VAT, basically we've then moved that, and have done for many years, basically into the way you submit your statutory accounts. They've also now moved that to self-assessment, and partnerships will come along very, very shortly. So therefore, by April 2026, if you're an average business in this country, you're really going to have to be quite digital savvy to meet the new requirements. But I don't think it's the only reason. I think you're really trying to push forward and actually, as I say, develop that ability for you to understand your business to a much greater and in-depth effect. Thinking of all the technologies, thinking of the ERP systems we've talked about, and trust me, I've spent many, many hours on those, SAP, Coda, various others. The reality is we need to take the information that's coming out of those and really do something with them and make sure we're analysing and using them to the best of abilities. Traditional ledgers, paper, Excel, I'm not saying any of them are bad, but they are really becoming relics of the past. And what you're now having to do, as I mentioned, is a mix of enterprise software, cloud, desktop to really run their business. You're really wanting direct integration with your systems, with your client systems, with your supplier systems. So you're really wanting to invest in software platforms, data and solutions, and industry-specific specialist tools and mobile apps. And this is the direction of travel for accountancy. In the end of the day, what I'm interested in is really making sure that accountancy, bookkeeping, analysis really drives profitability within your growing business. There are numerous solutions out there. I have literally put half a dozen on the screen at the moment. We are gold partners with Xero, for example, so I am slightly biased. But Intuit QuickBooks, the world's largest cloud-based provider, FreeAgent, which basically comes with RBS, Sage, probably one of the world's best known, and then you get things like MS and Cashflow there as well. We are no longer tied to a desk operation. We are no longer tied to a location. I think the ability, what happened during COVID probably developed that 5 years faster. I'm sure there's people around this table that would debate that with me. But, technology has moved on so much. I think traditional methods take up resources and actually reduces your ability to be part of the business in a way. Basically, cloud accounting software lets you work anywhere, anytime, as long as you've got that IT capability to do so. And we're assuming that as growing businesses and developing businesses, and the kind of conversation we've just had of quite large investments, that you are investing continuously in your front-end IT. Where's it at? Where is it at now? Most basic thing is really about scanning and data analysis. So you basically take your bog standard receipt, that then is basically uploaded through your phone or some form of scanner. That then ends up basically immediately in the cloud. That then fires right down into whatever software you're using for your accountancy. So immediately you can imagine the paperwork saving there, the efficiency rate, but it's much more than that, because once it's in that software, what you're really trying to do is to turn around and say, okay, the software is now intelligent enough to recognize that you have actually had invoices in from that client, that supplier before. You're then basically turning around and recognizing that what actually is on that receipt, they can replicate it, and they will then start basically feeding information directly into your system to make sure that it's charged correctly to the correct part of your ledgers. The same goes for invoices you may receive via email, for example, or information directly through your bank account. So what you've now got is a fully tied up, functionally working, efficient system where you're minimizing paperwork, you're using cloud to its best advantage, and within literally a minimal number of clicks, you've now got access to a considerable volume of information through both dashboards and your wider accounting system. It is faster, it is easier. Quite simple, you do more with less, so you increase your productivity. You deliver your accountancy needs faster. And basically you then complete more jobs. So in other words, actually by freeing up other resource, you basically then grow and develop. So I am a great believer that having the correct financial systems does actually deliver greater profitability. But we have moved on so much further. The old idea of sitting and ticking across bank accounts, the idea of basically having paperwork flying out your ears is gone. And it should be gone. I've just given an example there of UTax, which basically is a printer. It's a copier. But nowadays what we're offering clients in terms of the way we operate is actually scanner, desk-based scanners. So in other words, if you've got half a dozen small receipts, stick them on the scanner, no matter what way you put them down, scan them in, they will automatically, as I showed you in that flow before, straight into your accounting software. They'll have analysed them because they're recognisable. They'll put in basically what the supplier is. They will then have taken them forward and actually entered them directly into your accounting system. We are far forward than we were even 3, 4, 5 years ago in developing accountancy practices. When you actually look at what is this type of software and system delivering, it's meeting, I would say, most of the needs of what business leaders want advice on. Through dashboards, and I've got an example there on the right-hand side, you're looking at business and financial performance. Can you get that information accurately and quickly? Management accounts, KPIs, are you really driving and making sure that everything is working for you? improved cash flow and cash flow forecasts, debtor tracking, reducing aged debt, so in other words, really getting the cash into the company, managing of spend, management expenses, time, travel, software and systems advice, access to finance and funding. You know, what's happening nowadays is if you're looking for funding, in a very large number of cases, they've stopped even asking you for information. Don't even bother me sending in. Send your link, send your invite to your accounting software. We'll analyse it. So what you're getting is much faster and focused opportunities to basically fund your business by having accurate information held within your accounting system. But as I said, you cannot be without people. Strategic planning, goal setting, outsourced FD services, business coaching and mentoring. The reality is AI has not yet taken over that aspect and probably will never really do, in my own personal opinion. But we've also moved on. You know, 5-6 years ago, I was doing most of my cash flow work through Excel spreadsheets. We were developing the ability to take information from an accounting system, put it into a financial forecast model, which we built, and then forecast it out. The reality is that is now there at the touch of a button. You don't need somebody like me to basically deliver that for you if you've got the toolkit there already. Now, obviously, it is required when you're basically looking at rebuild of projects, development of investment, development of the type of productivity gains from manufacturing, etc. we've talked about today. But, you know, it's automatically there for you. Yeah, there is a charge to some of these things, but the reality says is that within the tools you've already got, and I have used Xero here as an example, it's already there. As part of the process, you already get 3 months free cash flow, but basically you can extend that to 12 and 24. It drags out the information, analyses it within seconds, and gives you a prediction based on previous results of where you're going to be. Now, that is a very, very strong analysis tool to allow you to develop and grow your business, whether it's funding, profitability, etc. I'm going to finish on AI. AI has now become a massive part of the accountancy world. In our own firm alone, I've mentioned UTAX, which basically is a set of printers, fancy printers. I've talked about the ability for us to send receipts analysed by AI technology, which immediately ends up in your account software. We are also now using AI technology to basically improve the flagging of risks, errors, and basically anything that's out there that just doesn't quite look right. I think it also then basically provides us time. So it buys us that time to basically collaborate, understand the issues, take corrective action and move on. So your bookkeeping accountancy function, as well as all the other conversations had about digital progression we've had in the last hour or so, needs to move on with it, because unfortunately, this is key aspects of your business you need to know on an ongoing basis to really make the correct decision-making process. Kirsty, that is me. Thank you very much for all your time. It's been fantastic being part of this list of superb people knowing about digital.
No, thank you very much for that, Colin. I think now we're getting to the point where we've went through planning, we went through the actual production elements, and obviously finance, and then I suppose the last part we're kind of looking at now is the data side, what comes out the other end. So within our own team here at SOSI, we've got our data analyst Jordan on the call, who is going to do a short presentation for us to show how we can use Power BI amongst other tools to really look at this. Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I have got a couple of slides, and then what I think is probably the best thing to do is probably just show you a demo of Power BI as well to see how it works in real life, I suppose.
Excellent.
So I'll just share on screen. Hopefully you can see that all right.
Yep, we can see that.
Perfect, no worries. So we're just going to talk about Microsoft Power BI. So quick introduction to myself. So as Kirsty says, I'm Jordan Yardley. I'm the data analyst at the South of Scotland Enterprise. I've just got a quick link there from LinkedIn as well, if you want to touch base after this. So my role, I'll base it on Power BI, I suppose. But ultimately, I create reports using Power BI. What that does for the business is gives us accessible information about different areas of the business, such as human resources, finance, business development, and IT. I use Power BI to evaluate performance against key indicators. So, for example, for businesses, that would maybe be things like, from an HR perspective, it could be the gender pay gap. From business development, it could be maybe potentially sales performance or financial performance, just many more other areas. Ultimately, like I says there, my role is to help the business to make informed, data-driven decisions. I think you've heard from all the previous speakers how important data is. Power BI is basically a powerful tool that assists me in that process and helping the business make those data-driven decisions. So the importance of data, we'll touch on here. So kind of think of data as data, information, and knowledge. So the data itself is really kind of raw alphanumeric values obtained through different methods or different data sources. Like it says, data in its simplest form is raw alphanumeric values. Information is then created when the data is kind of processed, organized, transformed, or structured, and that then provides kind of context to the data. So information you can kind of think of as essentially as processed data. From that information, we can kind of extract knowledge. So knowledge is really what we know. It's unique to each individual and each individual business, and it's potential accumulation of past experience and I suppose the insight that kind of shapes what we interpret. And then, like I said, knowledge is kind of what we assign meaning to for that information. So a couple of kind of statistics on the importance of data. So according to a report by the SAS Institute, data could have benefits to the UK economy by up to 241 billion in 5 years. Another report suggests that data can create £66 billion of new business and innovation opportunities in the UK. So I think this kind of further highlights the importance of using data to promote growth. In fact, a study of the financial services market found that companies that use tools such as Power BI for data analytics, they were able to achieve an 11% increase in customers and a 10% increase in new business. Now, obviously, these figures are encouraging, but studies are showing we're only really scratching the surface, considering that a study shows that companies are really only analysing around about 12% of their existing data. So this is where kind of Power BI can help increase that figure. So what is Power BI? It's basically a suite of business intelligence tools that deliver powerful insights. So in summary, it's a collection of software services, apps and connectors that kind of work together to turn unrelated sources of data into kind of coherent, visually immersive and interactive insights. So it consists of several elements that all work together, but the three kind of main ones we put on the screen there, which are Power BI Desktop, Power BI Service and Power BI Mobile. So Power BI Desktop is a desktop application that is used to actually create these data reports. The Power BI Service is a cloud-based online software as a service that's used to store the created reports and dashboards. And then Power BI Mobile is used to have access to these stored reports and dashboards on the move at any time. So Power BI connects to a broad range of unrelated data sources and then transforms, analyzes and visualizes that data. So unrelated sources, it could be, your data could be a combination of different sources such as Excel sheets, it could be a database from your CRM system, or even something as simple as a PDF document. So Power BI lets you kind of easily connect to your data sources, bring them together, visualize them, and then use that to gain insights and discover what's important for your business. It allows to share insights to drive that decision making. So as I say, a co-worker might create or make extensive use of Power BI Desktop to create those reports and then publish those to the Power BI service. These reports could then be shared with you and other co-workers to make fact-based, data-driven decisions. So for a lot of businesses that can be a challenge when we think of data and analytics. So Power BI can overcome the following challenges here. So first one is data collection. So businesses might lack the resources or the expertise that they feel to collect high quality data. They may not have the necessary tools or systems in place to automatically collect that data. And as we know, manual data collection can be time consuming, prone to errors. I think we've already touched on it today as well, that a lot of data can be siloed, meaning that data can be in different sources, different data sources, which means they don't necessarily talk to each other. That's where Power BI can help. They can connect to multiple sources at once, simplify the data collection process, which means it makes it easier and more efficient, and data can be pulled directly for Power BI for analysis. The second kind of area that it helps is the actual analytics itself. So once data is collected, it needs to be analysed to extract that meaningful insight. It can be complex and time consuming to do this data analysis normally, and businesses may not have the manpower or the resources to dedicate time to the data analysis task. So Power BI provides a range of analytic tools and capabilities that make it easy to transform, analyse and visualise that data. It also incorporates artificial intelligence capabilities that can help identify trends and patterns in this data. Basically what this means is you don't necessarily need to come from a data background. It means users without a background in data analysis can gain insights from their data quite quickly and efficiently. So to gain that insights, it normally comes from the kind of visualization element. So visualizing that data involves presenting it in a kind of, I suppose, graphical or pictorial format, such as like bar charts, graphs, or even infographics. It makes it easier to interpret that data, but creating these visualizations again can be challenging without the right tools or expertise. Power BI can help create those interactive visuals with simple drag and drop features, making data easier to understand and communicate. I think Power BI excels across a number of tools. It's probably the one that excels in terms of visualization. It's got a wide variety of visualization options, from basic bar charts or pie charts to kind of more complex data visualization elements such as heat maps or waterfall charts. Every month Power BI desktop updates as well, which continues to add more visuals that are available to suit all businesses. So the last kind of element that it helps with is, I suppose, is data accessibility. So some businesses might struggle with making their data easily accessible to all relevant stakeholders. As we've said, data might be stored in kind of disparate systems or formats, which makes it a bit difficult to share or collaborate on that data. Power BI allows you to share published reports, which kind of promotes a data-driven culture within the business. It makes it easier for all stakeholders to access the data they need and when they need it, because it's a cloud-based solution. Power BI also includes features for setting up automatic refreshes, which basically means that the data that people see is real time and the most up-to-date data. So I'll just give you a quick demo on it and talk across kind of 4 areas, I suppose. So we'll show you how it helps make informed decision making. So providing factual insights that can help guide business decisions, reducing the reliance on kind of guesswork. So it's more kind of fact-based decisions that you're making. It can help reveal patterns in the way that customers are behaving, helping businesses understand what their customers want and how they can better serve them. It can also highlight areas of inefficiency in business operations, so it enables businesses to maybe streamline processes or reduce costs. And then by using that data kind of effectively, businesses can gain a competitive edge, identifying opportunities and threats in the market before potentially their competitors do. So I'll give you a quick demo. What I've done is I've created it as it's basically a fictional coffee shop, is what we'll go through. So just kind of show you quickly, this is the kind of raw data. So it's right now in its rawest form as a date of sales, right through for a couple of financial years. The next one is some baked goods and the sales for croissants, scones and cookies, and then looking at footfall, which I'll explain a wee bit as well. So like I said, in its kind of form, it's just literally raw data. So what I've done is I've pulled it into Power BI here to show the kind of what potential that you can get from these insights. So what we've got here is the sales by the 3 stores that we've talked about, so Gretna, Hawick and Stranraer. This kind of shows the total sales, the percentage of sales, and then it shows the total, the top sales month and the top sales performing sales in that month as well. This kind of shows the financial years. Again, it's within a click of a button, you can gain insights into the month and year instead. So if I click this button here, you'll see it's changed there. So straight away you can kind of gain insights just by looking at that chart. So we've transferred raw data into something that is more insightful. So based on that, you can already see that we can tell that Stranraer has a top performing kind of first quarter. So January, February and March seems to be where it performs at its best. Hawick seems to perform better within the months of April to around about August, and then Gretna has a peak around about kind of August to October time. What Power BI excels in as well is that you can kind of gain more insight. So if you just wanted to specifically know about Hawick, you just literally click the bar. It kind of filters the rest of the data within that. So again, we can see now that Hawick has £64,000 of sales, which equates to 42% of total sales. Again, it changes this dynamically to say August was Hawick's top performing month and the top sales month as well. So I've purposely left these 2 blank to show you how kind of straightforward it is when I talk about the drag and drop features. So if we look at sales here, we'll pull in, it's just like a drag in here, which gives us the total sales. But you can change this. So if we want to know the average sales in a day, again, it's filtered to Hawick, but there we go. It was literally a drag and drop a button, which gives us the average of sales each day. If we wanted to know perhaps maybe the minimum sales that have been made in a day, again, we can just change it. So it's got various options. So if you take minimum, so the minimum sales in any day was £1. Again, if you just wanted to know specifically a specific store, click Gretna or Stranraer. It kind of filters that data to tell you what how it performed basically. Again, easy enough if you wanted to filter even further. So right now it's set on month and year. We can drill even further to date, and again, it just kind of shows you. That's probably not as insightful as the month and year, but it just shows how easy it is to get that insight basically. Another one we talked about there just now was customer behaviour. So again, I've kind of created something quite fictional here. So it's talking about 3 products, 3 baked goods, which are cookies, croissants and scones. What we're looking at here is, again, it will be a drag and drop feature. So I'll pull in the total, where is it? Yeah, the total sales we'll pull in here. And again, we'd like to know on average how much. So basically what's happening is the stores are baking 20 items per day. We'd like to know how many are selling on average per day. So again, it's as simple as just picking the average there. So we can see here, although we're baking 20 of each item per day, we can actually only see that cookies on average are only selling around about 6 cookies per day. What does that equate in kind of financial terms, I suppose? So if we pull in the total sales and the total production costs, we can kind of see that scones are obviously very profitable. Croissants are profitable as well, but we can actually see that highlighting that over is it's actually costing us more to produce the cookies than we're actually selling. How does that look in terms of profit? Again, it's literally just clicking items here. So we can see what you can do if you click format. You can add data labels to it as well, so it might be easier to read. Let's change this in fact. Yeah, so you can see that cookies are basically they're not profitable. So businesses could make that decision that actually they could maybe perhaps change how many goods they're baking each day. So perhaps looking at it, scones are selling quite profitably. They can increase the number of scones that they're making per day and reduce the number of cookies that they're making. So it's something as simple as that is gaining that insights can help make informed decisions. And like I said, that's kind of informing customer behaviour as well. The final one I was going to show you just again on the fictional store was perhaps they were looking at opening a new store in the Borders. So again, this is using 2 different data sources. So what we first used is the footfall by town So this data would come from maybe local authorities, and then what it can do is combining that data with data within the actual stores themselves. So this data comes from, say, Scottish Borders Council to say what are the footfall in each town, and this is what they're going to use to open up a new store. So firstly, this data, looking at it, they might think that Peebles is the best store the best place to potentially open up a new store because it's got the highest footfall. But actually, if you use more of the data, it'll become clear that maybe it's not. So we've looked at the footfall in the towns. What we can pull through now is the towns themselves and the number of customers they've got in each town. So pulling that data in there, we can see that actually we've not got as many customers in Peebles as we think, but actually in Galashiels and Melrose, we have got quite a lot of customers within that area. Using that again, we can use a percentage of customers versus footfall and bring that in as well. So if I pull that into the town, so again, it's percentage wise. If I just add those in, I just wanted to see them more visually. So we can see that actually we've got 8% of customers and 6% of customers in Melrose and Galashiels, as opposed to Peebles, we've only got 0.45%. So this kind of just shows that utilising data for different data sources can help drive those decisions and kind of make more insightful decisions, I suppose. So based on that, they might consider that actually they don't want to open up a new store in Peebles, they might consider opening up a new store closer to kind of Galashiels or Melrose. And again, that's just using various different data sources to make those informed data-driven business decisions. So yeah, that's the tool in its essence. Like I said, the amount of analysis you can do is endless. It's been so powerful, and like I said, so use it quite a lot for making informed decisions. So yeah, if there's any questions at the end of the session, then please reach out. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Jordan. That's a really interactive session, so it's great to see. Does anybody have any questions for any of our presenters today? Or us?
Kirsty, can I just ask Jordan something?
Of course you can.
Sorry, I can't put it in the chat. I don't know why it's telling me that I can't access the chat. Jordan, see the likes of, I can understand from pulling in data sources in Excel, etc. See if you took the likes of the output from something like Xero.
Yeah.
Can you then take that information and put it into something like Power BI?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, exactly. So there's like a prime example is pulling it from different financial systems or CRM systems. So we connect to, we've got a CRM system we'll connect to, and we can connect that to other different data sources. So that is why it's so powerful, is that you're pulling in unrelated data sources or data sources that don't relate to each other initially, and then you can kind of relate those and make those insights from it. So yeah, you're right, you can pull it, so that's often how it works, is that it'll input into a system as such, and then use that data within the system as an output in the Power BI.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jordan. Just shows you, Kirsty, I've shown robotic technology, AI, and I get excited over an extended spreadsheet again.
Can't take the accountants out of you though, really. Does anybody else want to ask anything at all?
Can I ask a question to Jordan as well, please?
Oh, Jordan, you're popular.
Yeah. I know, I was quite excited looking at that as well. What are the cost implications for businesses to access Power BI? Is the free one any good, or would you say they had to go for like a
really good question? So obviously it comes down to kind of the size, I suppose, the size of the organization and its kind of data needs. It's Power BI is becoming a lot more accessible now. So the Power BI service obviously comes at a cost. I think off the top of my head, I think it's roughly about £10 per user per month for a Power BI Pro license. If you just wanted to use the desktop version, they're making it more available now, so that you can share that through like your Office 365. So you don't necessarily need the Power BI service. You can still make insights through Power BI Desktop, which will always be free of charge right now. So yeah, it's free of charge, so you can still share that insights. It obviously, where the Power BI service helps is that it helps you kind of share that insights with colleagues, but maybe kind of micro or small organizations might not necessarily need the Power BI service. Power BI Desktop might be the tool that they need to make those decisions, and still still gain insights from that. But
And
yeah,
do you
roughly,
offer any training to any businesses on Power BI?
So
at
what
all?
I've done, what I'll do on my slides, I've put a few resources there on how people can access. Basically, if you want more information about Power BI, then I've got information for that. But I've also put kind of links to the kind of learning platform for Power BI. But I mean, I'm more than happy to kind of help if they've got any questions or where to get started with Power BI. Then please feel free to reach out. Like, I'm more than happy to help.
Thank you.
That probably leads kind of nicely on to say that actually, if there is anything today, we've done very much bite-sized sessions from everyone. So the idea of that is just really to give you a little insight. So if there is a demand and people would find the benefit of doing a more focused session on any topic, we are planning our next year ahead and more than happy to look at doing online face-to-face sessions, workshops with a group of businesses going forward. That's kind of how we happen to do today, actually. So this is our first recorded session. It will be openly available afterwards because it was a very popular topic, but trying to find a time, location, or anything for everybody that suited everyone was quite difficult. So that's why some people have had to drop out as well. So this will be recorded and will be put online, and I'll share the link with everybody that was registered for today and also with you all to share with other people externally to share as well, because I think it's been a great session and I really thank you very much to all our presenters. I think I've definitely learned a lot and I have worked with you all independently as well, but I still found out new information today, so thank you very much for that. And if anybody who's attended today has any follow-up questions and maybe didn't want to ask in the open forum, please do reach out and I can link you up with any of the people on the call or also ask your question for you. But yes, but thanks so much. If there is no more questions, although I think I've just seen maybe a wee one that just went. No, so thank you, no problem, Vicky. So yeah, thanks again for all coming along. And as soon as the link's available, I will share with you all to share with everyone. But it's been a really good session. I'm really pleased with that. So thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.